While I was in surgery, my sister stole my ID and blew $12K on Cabo, clothes, and her hair, then had the nerve to say I'd do the same for her. So I sent her a bill with interest so high she begged me not to file charges. I woke up from surgery with my throat dry and my stomach tight from the anesthesia. I wasn't supposed to look at my phone yet, but the notifications wouldn't stop buzzing. Bank alerts, dozens of them. $1,247.32, airline purchase. $382.55, hair salon. $1998.00, clothing boutique. At first, I thought it was some kind of fraud. Maybe someone stole my card while I was in the hospital. I pressed the call button for the nurse, but my hands were shaking too bad to even explain. It wasn't until I opened my texts that I felt my chest go cold. My sister, Kayla, had sent a message. "Don't freak out, but I used your ID for a quick trip. You'll understand when you're better. Love you." She sent that while I was under anesthesia, while I was lying unconscious from an emergency appendectomy. The total she spent was over $12,000. Flights to Cabo, a luxury resort, spa days, hair extensions, designer bags. She even took selfies with my ID at a rooftop bar and posted them on Instagram with the caption, "New era, new me." When I finally got her on the phone, still groggy and sore, she said something I'll never forget. "Relax, you'd do the same for me if our roles were reversed. Family helps family. Family helps family." My credit score tanked. My savings were drained. My surgery recovery turned into a financial nightmare. But the part that hit the hardest wasn't the money, it was the entitlement. The smug way she said it like I owed her. That night, I stared at her posts again, her holding margaritas in Cabo, laughing with her friends on my dime, and something in me snapped. I didn't just want my money back. I wanted her to feel what she did. To understand that you don't get to steal from people just because they love you. So when she landed back in the US, I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I smiled and said, "I hope you had fun because the bill's coming." And I meant it. Kayla and I were always close growing up, at least that's what everyone thought. We were only 2 years apart, both raised by a single mom who worked double shifts at a hospital. I was the quiet one, the responsible sister. Kayla was the loud, charming one who always got her way. It started small when we were teenagers, her borrowing my clothes, my makeup, even my debit card once just for gas. She'd always say she'd pay me back, and she never did. Mom would shrug it off, saying, "That's what sisters do, you'll need her one day too." Except I never did. When I went to college, I worked 2 jobs to stay afloat. Kayla, meanwhile, dropped out of beauty school after 3 months and bounced between boyfriends' apartments. Every time she got into trouble, she'd call me crying, and I'd send her money. I thought I was helping. The truth was, I was teaching her I'd always bail her out. Then, 2 years ago, Mom died suddenly. It wrecked both of us, but Kayla handled it by spiraling, partying, spending, chasing attention. I handled it by working harder, saving more, trying to control something. By last spring, we barely talked. I knew she was struggling financially, but I didn't know how bad until I got that first credit alert while lying in a hospital bed. The day before my surgery, she'd visited me. She brought flowers, hugged me, told me she'd handle everything while I recovered. She must have taken my purse then, my wallet, my ID, everything. She had a full week to blow through my savings before I even realized it. And when I called her after finding out, her voice was so casual, like she was talking about borrowing a sweater. "You'll be fine. You've got savings." I just needed a break. Cabo was therapeutic. That word, therapeutic, made me see red. I was stuck in bed with stitches across my stomach, barely able to stand, and she was using my name to live like a celebrity. For the first time in my life, I stopped trying to fix things for her. I stopped trying to be the good sister. I opened my laptop, gathered every receipt, every transaction, every photo she'd posted. I started building something, a detailed invoice, every charge she made, every cent she owed, plus interest. Because if she wanted to treat me like a bank, she was about to learn what happens when the bank starts charging fees. Kayla came over the day after she landed. She walked into my apartment like nothing had happened, sunglasses on, tan glowing, hair perfectly blown out. She tossed her purse on my couch and said, "You look better. Surgery wasn't that bad, huh?" I was sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, every transaction pulled up on the screen. She saw the spreadsheets and rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're really going to make this a thing?" I remember staring at her, still in my pajamas, stitches aching, and asking, "You stole my ID. You committed fraud. Do you even realize that?" She laughed. "You're being dramatic. It's not fraud, it's family. Besides, you can afford it. I'll pay you back when I can." That's when I realized she truly didn't get it. To her, what she did wasn't theft, it was entitlement. She thought my stability meant she had a right to it. So I told her I'd need the money by the end of the month. $12,037.68 to be exact. She smirked, pulled out her phone, and said, "Sure. I'll Venmo you next Friday." She never did. Instead, over the next few weeks, she blocked me on Instagram, stopped answering my calls, and even told our cousins I was going crazy over money. Then, the real kicker, I got a call from a collections agency. Apparently, she'd opened a store credit line under my name while she was in Cabo. Another $3,000. That's when something inside me shifted from hurt to cold calculation. I reported the fraud to the bank and froze my credit. But I didn't file a police report, not yet. I wanted to give her one last chance to fix it like an adult. So I texted her, "You have until Friday to make this right. After that, I start paperwork." Her reply came seconds later. "LMAO, you'd never do that to your own sister." She really thought I was bluffing. That Friday came and went. No payment, no apology, nothing. But that same night, I got a tag notification. Kayla had posted a story at a bar downtown, drinking champagne with friends, captioned, "Nothing can bring me down." She had no idea that by Monday morning, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. Because I had something even better than a police report. That Monday, I showed up at my bank in person. The fraud investigator I'd been talking to, a woman named Karen, yeah, really, had been looking into the transactions. She slid a folder across the desk and said quietly, "We've confirmed the identity theft, but there's something else you should see." Inside were screenshots from their security logs, verification emails, credit checks, and even call recordings. Apparently, when the bank tried to confirm the new card and credit line, I had called in to verify my identity. Except it wasn't me. It was Kayla. They recorded her voice giving my full social security number, my date of birth, and even answering my security question, my first pet's name. That one hit hard because that was something only family would know. Then Karen said something that made my skin crawl. "She used your medical paperwork to verify your identity. She sent a copy of your hospital admission bracelet as proof." She'd taken it out of my hospital bag. She literally used my surgery wristband, the one that still had my blood type and hospital barcode, to impersonate me to a bank. That's when everything clicked. The timing, the fake, "I'll handle everything." Her visit before my surgery. She hadn't been there to check on me. She'd been scouting what she could take. I left the bank numb, clutching the folder like evidence in a trial. I didn't even cry that night, just stared at my computer, pulling every screenshot, every timestamp, every post of hers bragging about the trip. That's when I found the one that broke me. In a Cabo selfie with her friends, she'd captioned it, "Some people are born lucky, others have sisters with good credit." She thought it was funny. Something inside me hardened that night. The person who used to feel sorry for her, who tried to fix things, who thought family meant forgiveness, died right there. I wasn't just going to get my money back. I was going to make sure she never used my name or anyone else's again. So I started my plan. It was detailed, legal, cruel in the way justice sometimes is. And it began with an official invoice, $12,037.68, plus 23% interest compounded monthly. But that wasn't the real punishment. Because a week later, Kayla's phone rang from a number she didn't recognize, and when she answered, her world started to unravel. After I left Karen at the bank, I stopped letting anger be messy. Anger is loud and makes mistakes. Calculation is quiet and efficient. I shut my laptop and spent 2 days in my apartment doing nothing but thinking like a prosecutor. I had evidence, receipts, posts, bank recordings, the hospital bracelet, and I was done giving Kayla the benefit of the doubt. If she wanted to treat my life like a layaway plan, I was going to turn the ledger into a weapon. First, I built the invoice. Not a casual pay-me-back text, a proper, formal document. I pulled every transaction into a spreadsheet with timestamps, vendor names, chargebacks, and authorization numbers. I itemized the flights, the resort, the spa, the hair extensions, the boutique charges, the fraudulent store credit line. I didn't round numbers. I listed cents because the exactness felt like dignity. At the bottom, I added a line for emotional damages and left it blank, not to inflate, but to remind myself this wasn't only about money. Then I calculated interest. I didn't choose a number at random. I looked up standard bank penalty rates and commercial loan APRs until I found one that was legally plausible but punishingly high. I compounded monthly and included clear math so the balance escalated on paper in a way that would keep her eyes on the scoreboard. $12,037.68 plus 23% compounded monthly. I printed the amortization schedule and watched the balance double in 6 months. I felt a cold satisfaction I wasn't ashamed of. Next was the delivery method. I didn't want a Venmo message that could be deleted or a text she could pretend she never saw. I mailed a certified demand letter, lawyer's header, notary stamp, return receipt required. I had no lawyer yet, but the letter read like it came from one. Demand for immediate restitution and notice of intent to pursue criminal and civil remedies. I included copies of the bank's fraud confirmation and screenshots of her posts. The envelope had weight. I knew she'd open it because she couldn't ignore something official-looking. But I didn't stop at paper. I wanted leverage that hurt in the real world where she'd feel consequences, her credit. I contacted the credit bureaus and filed identity theft claims with the supporting documents. I froze my own credit file and set fraud alerts wherever I could. If she tried to open anything else in my name, or anyone else's, the system would flag it. No more easy store lines for her, no more just this once lies. I also scheduled a meeting with a criminal defense attorney, not to defend me, to understand the prosecutorial path. I wanted to know every step required to file charges so I could confidently tell Kayla I would, and mean it. I knew people assumed family disputes never reached the police, and that's what made her bold. I refused to be predictable. I crafted the text I would send after she opened the certified letter, short, clinical, and final. Invoice attached. Pay in full within 14 days or I will file a police report and pursue civil action. No more calls, no more lies. I practiced sending it once, twice, and felt my voice steady each time. The plan was surgical. Evidence, notice, public records if necessary. There were softer options, mediation, repayment plans, therapy referrals, but those were for people who wanted repair. Kayla had chosen theft and mockery. So I left the emotional damages, line blank as a threat, and added one more thing most people wouldn't expect. A figure for interest that made her gasp on paper, and a signature block where I could sign as plaintiff, rightful account holder. It read like a contract. It felt like a guillotine. When the certified mail scanner in my mailbox spit out the green slip, I wrote her name on it slowly, like carving a mark. I didn't send it yet. I wanted her to have one last bubble of disbelief. That night, I imagined her hands shaking when she opened the envelope. I imagined her pacing, Googling, what happens if you get charged with identity theft, imagining the worst. I wanted her to have that small, bright moment of panic before she could call our cousins and spin another lie. The next morning, when the post office closed and the certified letter was stamped and bound for delivery, I pressed send on the draft text I'd practiced, but I didn't send it to Kayla. I saved it. I printed another copy of the invoice, folded it into the envelope, and walked to the mailbox myself. As I dropped it in, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't have saved. I answered. A woman's voice said, "Is this Miss Rivera? We're calling from the collections desk regarding a new claim." I froze. That wasn't part of my plan. Her next sentence made my stomach drop colder than the bank recordings had. "Your sister called us this morning. She's offering to pay, but she wants a private arrangement. She says she can't afford the full amount, but she'll do anything to keep this off the books." My controlled plotline just got messy in a way I hadn't anticipated. I smiled into the phone, feeling something new and dangerous shape behind my ribs. The woman on the phone hesitated before she said the rest. "Your sister said she's willing to liquidate assets. She mentioned something about your mom's estate?" That's when my hand went cold around the phone. Mom's estate. There wasn't an estate. Mom had died broke, or so I thought. After the call, I drove straight to my mom's old storage unit. I still had the key. Inside, everything was the same as when I last cleaned it out after the funeral. Boxes of photo albums, her old nursing uniforms, and a folder labeled legal in Mom's handwriting. Inside that folder, I found an insurance policy worth $30,000, payable to both of us, joint beneficiaries, except Kayla had cashed it out alone the year before. The signature lines were identical to mine. Too identical. It hit me then, this wasn't her first time using my ID. She'd already done it once. She'd stolen our mother's last savings by forging my signature. Suddenly, Cabo didn't feel random anymore. It wasn't impulsive. It was patterned. She'd tested the system once and gotten away with it. The surgery theft was just the sequel. I sat on the floor of that storage unit for hours, just staring at that folder. I wasn't even angry, not the kind that makes you shake. This was something else. Quiet. Surgical. I finally understood who I was dealing with. I didn't call Kayla right away. I didn't even confront her about the insurance money. I called the investigator at the bank instead. I told her what I'd found and asked if identity theft tied to inheritance fraud counted as a federal case. She said yes. That same night, Kayla texted me. "I can't pay it all back yet, but please don't file anything. I'm serious. I'll sell my car, just don't ruin my life." There it was, ruin my life, not "I'm sorry." Not "I'll fix this." Just fear of losing her lifestyle. So I texted back one line, "You already ruined something. I'm just sending the receipt." The next day, I filed the report. Within 48 hours, an investigator called her. Within another week, her social media was wiped, her phone disconnected, and mutual friends started calling me asking what was happening. But then came the second twist, the one that almost made me doubt myself. A detective told me Kayla wasn't denying it. In fact, she was cooperating. But she wasn't painting herself as a thief. She was saying she did it for me. She told them I'd been suicidal after surgery, that she used my money to cheer me up, that she forged the insurance papers to protect me from myself. And she said she had texts to prove it, texts I'd never sent. When the detective said texts, I actually laughed. I thought he was bluffing, that Kayla had just tried to guilt trip her way out. But then he emailed me the evidence file. There they were, messages supposedly from me saying things like, "You can take what you need, I don't care about money anymore. Just don't tell anyone, okay? I'm tired of everything." The timestamps lined up exactly with my hospital stay. The problem? My phone had been in my hospital locker the entire time. That's when I realized she hadn't just stolen my ID and my money. She'd used my vulnerability. She'd read my messages while I was in surgery. She'd seen my text to my friend about how scared I was, how I didn't know if I'd wake up. And she twisted them into a story that made her the hero. The detective's voice was careful when he told me. "She's claiming she was trying to prevent you from harming yourself. She says the spending was her way of coping, that she thought she'd take care of you after she got herself reset emotionally. She said Cabo was for your sake." I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just sat there, feeling my skin go cold in layers. Because I finally saw what made her tick, that strange, hollow part of her that couldn't just admit guilt. She had to be the victim, even when she was the one holding the knife. When our mom died, Kayla spun a story about being the forgotten child, the one everyone overlooked. That's how she justified taking the insurance money. "Mom would have wanted me to have it," she'd probably told herself. Now she was doing it again, rewriting reality until she sounded like a savior. I wasn't her sister anymore. I was a prop in her redemption story. And the terrifying part was, she'd almost made it believable. When the investigator asked if I wanted to pursue full charges, I hesitated. Not because I pitied her, because I wanted to make sure she couldn't twist this again. I wanted the truth to stick so tight that even her lies couldn't pry it loose. So I gathered proof she couldn't fake. The time-stamped hospital log showing I was under anesthesia when those texts were sent. Security footage from the hospital hallway showing her leaving with my purse. The insurance check with her handwriting under my forged signature. I sent it all to the investigator with one message. She didn't steal to help me. She stole because she thought she could get away with it. And that's the part that chilled me. Kayla didn't do it for greed or need. She did it to prove a point. To prove that love made me weak, that I'd never fight back. She'd been testing the boundaries of my forgiveness her whole life. This time she wanted to see if there even was one. Well, now she knew, Because the next thing I sent wasn't another invoice. It was a court summons. And the moment she realized that, she stopped playing the victim. She started begging. The day the summons hit her mailbox, I got a string of texts from an unknown number. The first one was short. "You didn't have to go this far." The next few were a blur of guilt-tripping and emotional baiting. "We're family. Mom wouldn't want this. You're ruining my life over a mistake." But the one that stopped me cold was the last. "You win. Just tell me what you want." I didn't reply. I wanted my answer to come from the system she thought she could manipulate. 2 weeks later, we were in small claims court. She showed up in heels, hair perfectly done, clutching a purse I recognized, the one she bought in Cabo with my money. I almost laughed. Even facing charges, she still wanted to look untouchable. When the judge called our case, I laid out everything: the fraud, the forged insurance check, the fake texts, the hospital footage. I didn't embellish. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the story exactly as it happened. Watching her squirm was almost anticlimactic. She tried to cry, tried to talk about mental health and grief. The judge wasn't moved. Then came the moment that satisfied something deep in me: the judgment. The court ruled in my favor, full restitution of $12,037.68, plus 23% interest, legal fees, and an order for her to complete 200 hours of community service. The insurance fraud went to a separate criminal review. Her face when the judge read the ruling was pure disbelief, like she was hearing a foreign language. For once, she wasn't the clever one who could talk her way out of anything. Outside the courthouse, she tried to approach me. "Can't we fix this? Please, I'll do anything." I looked at her, really looked. The same sister who used to braid my hair before school. The same girl who forged our mom's signature, who drained my savings, who thought I'd never fight back. So I said quietly, "You can start by paying your debt. Interest runs daily." Then I walked away. It took 6 months, but she paid every cent. The money didn't matter anymore. It was the silence that came after that felt like closure. No more fake apologies. No more guilt trips, just a permanent pause. I moved cities a few months later. New job, new bank accounts, new everything. I didn't even tell her where. The debt was settled, but the relationship was gone, and honestly, that was worth more. Sometimes I still think about her, not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. People like her don't take because they need. They take because they want to see if you'll still love them after they do. And the best revenge? Letting them find out you don't.